Welcome to Echoes of the Lost audiobook, where forgotten stories come to life. Dive into worlds of mystery, survival, and the unknown. If you enjoy our stories, don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with our latest audiobooks. Chapter 20, Beneath a Shattered Sky. Ryder guided the scrap rig gently through the crimson desert, his hands cradling the rusted wheel as if it might crumble under too much force. The sunset bled faintly in the west, staining the sand a burning orange, like dried blood stretching to the horizon. The engine purred a weary tune, a tired beast's breath mingling with the wind slipping through the rig's cracks, a mournful melody laced with unease. Lena sat beside, her steel rod resting quiet on her lap, her keen eyes drifting over the dunes where shadows began to creep like silent fingers. The tank held steady, thanks to the black flow beneath the sand, but each mile felt like a whisper of warning. They were venturing deeper into a land of unknowable secrets. He slipped the Seraphim device from his bag, resting it on his lap like a silent companion. Its red light pulsed like a heartbeat, the small screen glowing with the map's northern date, the archive label, and the haunting new signal, MH370, time transfer activated. Those words echoed in his mind, a call from a dream long buried. He opened his notebook, fingers brushing the page, writing slowly, Day 5 North, desert shifting. Archive tied to MH370, what's time transfer? He paused, staring at the words as if they might answer back. They moved me, he murmured, voice lost in the breeze. But why? And where? Lena tilted her head, her gaze soft yet sharp, cutting through the dusk. You think it's your key? She asked, her voice rough, warned by the desert's edge. If the Seraphim brought you here, what do they want from you? Or me? She reached out, brushing the cracked glass, peering beyond. This desert, it's not what it was. It's alive, but not in a way I know. Ryder offered a faint smile, fleeting as lightning before a storm. I don't know. But Archive holds answers, about MH370, the day I vanished. If it's sound, images, or memories, I've got to find them. He met her eyes, a spark flickering in the dimness. You tired? I'll keep driving, rest if you want, the wind's cold. Lena shook her head, short hair tangling in the breeze. Not that tired. But you save your strength, the road's long. She exhaled, her breath a thin mist in the chilling air. If there's more in that device, play it, I want to hear. Ryder nodded, plugging the device into the rig's cable. The engine hummed, feeding the small generator. He pressed the button, the screen flaring, and a strange sound rose, not the pilot's crackle, but a whisper, soft and close, Ryder, don't be afraid, we chose you. The voice melted into the wind, a shredded memory, but it sent a chill down his spine. Someone knows me, he whispered, hands trembling faintly. He scribbled, archive audio, voice calling my name. Seraphim chose me? Lena stared, eyes wide, as if she'd heard a ghost. They spoke to you? How do they know your name? She gripped the rod tighter, voice taut. If they chose you, this isn't chance, what are you to them? I don't know, Ryder said, voice faltering. But if it's true, MH370 didn't just vanish, it was taken, and me with it. He opened his mouth to say more, but the desert shifted, sand quivered, not cracking, but pulsing slowly from below. Listen, Lena whispered, sitting up, eyes darting. Ahead, the sand sank, forming a wide circle, and from its heart, thin metal pillars rose, not a tower, but like the spine of some vast machine, glinting silver in the dusk. Seraphim, she said, voice trembling faintly. They're waking something. Ryder stopped the rig, gazing at the pillars. they vibrated, emitting a low hum, like the desert's breath. "Not a trap," he murmured. "A marker, archives closer." He wrote, "Metal pillars, day 5 north. Seraphim system active." They left this, for who? Lena stepped out, rod raised, eyes locked on the pillars. "If it's a marker, it's not for us, but someone else." She turned, voice urgent. "Hear that? Engines, hounds or worse." Ryder listened, a distant rumble, not scrap rigs, but heavier, like a massive machine. He jumped down, spear in hand, standing by her. Through the dark, a hulking shape emerged, not a small bot, but an armored rig, twice their size, red lights sweeping the sand. The broken angel wing symbol gleamed on its side. "Seraphim," he whispered. "Not hounds, it's them." Lena pulled him behind the rig. "Can't fight that, it's too big." She glanced at the device in his hand. "Use it, you stopped that bot, try again." Ryder nodded, hitting the button, the whisper rang louder, "Ryder, closer." Archive waits, the rig froze, red lights flickering, then turned, rolling slowly away. It listened, he whispered, heart pounding. "They want me there." Lena stared, awe and fear in her eyes. "They're calling you, but for what?" She grabbed his arm, voice soft. "We keep going?" Ryder nodded, resolve burning like a flame in the wind. "Yes, I need the truth." They climbed in, engine humming, speeding through the desert beneath a shattered sky, where mystery and fate intertwined. Chapter 21, The River of Metal. Ryder eased the scrap rig through the crimson desert, his hands cradling the rusted wheel like a weary traveler holding a fading steed's reins. The sky above shattered into streaks of gray and purple, the last light of day slipping over the dunes, leaving long shadows like unhealed scars. The engine hummed a steady, tired song, blending with the wind weaving through the rig's cracks, a whisper of the desert, both beckoning and foreboding. Lena sat beside, her steel rod resting quiet on her lap, her keen eyes soft yet piercing, like a hunter tracking dusk's descent. The tank held firm, fueled by the black flow beneath the sand, but each roll forward pulsed closer to archive, where truth hid in the dark. He gently pulled the Seraphim device from his bag, resting it on his lap like a lantern guiding him through a dream. Its red light flickered like a heartbeat, the small screen glowing with the northern the archive label, and the haunting last signal, "Ryder, closer. Archive waits." That voice lingered in his mind, gentle yet cold, a call from a place he couldn't recall. He opened his notebook, fingers brushing the page, writing slowly, "Day 6 north, desert alive. Archive calls me, next image." He paused, gazing at the screen as if it might unveil the face behind the words. "They want me there," he murmured, voice drifting in the breeze. "But for what?" Lena leaned closer, her eyes shimmering in the fading light, a tiny flame against the night. "Why do you think they need you?" she asked, her voice rough, kissed by sand and dust. "If the Seraphim chose you, MH370 wasn't just lost, it's part of them." She reached out, brushing the cracked glass, peering beyond. "This desert, it's not dead land anymore. Can you feel it?" Ryder nodded faintly, his eyes tracing the dunes where shadows seemed to stir with life. "I feel it. It's breathing, something's awake beneath the sand, waiting." He met her gaze, a smile flickering like a falling star. "You okay?" "It's a long haul, I'll keep driving, rest if you need, the night's cold." Lena shook her head, short hair tangling in the wind. "Not that cold yet. But you save your strength, I don't want you dropping mid-road." She exhaled, her breath a faint mist in the crisp air. "If there's more in that device, show me, I want to see." Ryder nodded, plugging the device into the rig's cable. The engine hummed, feeding the small generator. He pressed the button, the screen flaring, and this time, not sound, but a moving image bloomed, an airplane cabin, red lights flashing, panicked shouts, and a blurry figure, no face clear, standing in the aisle, holding a device like his own. The scene shattered, but a voice cut through. "Transfer complete, Ryder, welcome." He trembled, fingers tightening on the device. "I was there," he whispered. "They took me." Lena stared at the screen, her breath catching for a moment. "You on that plane? Someone did this to you?" She gripped his arm, voice quivering faintly. "Seraphim, they didn't just record, they pulled you through time." "I don't know," Ryder said, voice faltering like it might blow away. "But if it's true, I'm part of a plan, and Archive will tell me why." He reached for his notebook, but the desert trembled, not a pulse, but a sharp whine, like metal tearing apart. "Listen," Lena whispered, sitting up, rod raised. Ahead, the sand sank, and a river of liquid metal flowed up, not water, but silver, moving slow and gleaming under the newborn moon. "Seraphim," she said, awe in her voice. "They've changed this land." Ryder stopped the rig, gazing at the river. It didn't burn or smoke, but exhaled a chill, tightening the air around them. "Not fuel," he murmured. "Technology, they're building something under the sand." He wrote, "Metal River, Day 6 North. Seraphim system alive? This is their mark, Archives closer." Lena stepped out, rod poised, eyes locked on the silver flow. "If they've reshaped the desert, we're walking their ground." She turned, voice urgent. "Hear that? Roaring, not machines." Ryder listened, a deep growl from afar, not engines, but beasts, mixed with clanking metal. He leapt down, spear in hand, standing by her. Through the dark, three shapes emerged, not typical dredgers, but larger, gray skin gleaming, red eyes blazing, each with a small device blinking green on its back. "Controlled muties," he whispered. "Seraphim wired them." Lena yanked him behind the rig. "They're using beasts to hunt," she said, voice tight. "Can't outrun, fight." She charged, rod slamming the nearest. It roared, staggering, but the device flashed faster, and it lunged. Ryder swung his spear, piercing one's leg. The blade sank in, black blood oozing, but it didn't fall, only roared fiercer. "The devices control them," he shouted, dodging as the third snapped at him. Lena smashed the biggest one's back, shattering its device. The beast howled, collapsing, eyes dimming. They moved together, Ryder stabbing, Lena striking. Two more fell amid broken metal and pooling black blood. "Done," Lena panted, leaning on him. "Stronger than regular dredgers." Ryder nodded, checking the device. Its screen flared, showing new text, "Archive, Ryder, role confirmed. Proceed." "Role?" he whispered, heart racing. "What do they want me for?" Lena met his gaze, worry and resolve mingling. "You're their key, but to what?" She squeezed his arm, voice soft. "We keep going?" Ryder nodded, eyes blazing like fire in the dark. "Yes, I need to know who I am." They climbed in, rig rolling past the metal river, under a shattered sky, where truth awaited. Chapter 22, The Land of Watching Eyes. Ryder let the scrap rig drift slowly through the crimson desert, his hands cradling the rusted wheel like a weary traveler clinging to the last thread of light. The sky above had shattered into deep purples and pitch black, with only a few faint streaks of brightness slipping away at the horizon. The engine hummed a steady, sorrowful tune, like the breath of an old beast worn thin, blending with the wind weaving through the rig's cracks, a mournful whisper of the desert, both an invitation and a warning. Lena sat beside him, her steel rod resting quiet on her lap, her eyes drifting silently over the dunes, where shadows seemed to stir like unseen creatures lurking in the night. The tank held firm, fueled by the black flow from below, but each turn of the wheels drew them closer to archive, where truth lay hidden in the deepest corners. He gently pulled the Seraphim device from his bag, resting it on his lap like a small flame guiding him through the dark. Its red light pulsed steadily, a heartbeat of something waiting, the small screen glowing with the Northern the archive label, and the last signal he'd received, writer, role confirmed. Proceed. Those words carved themselves into his mind, sharp and cold as a blade in the wind. He opened his notebook, fingers brushing the worn page, writing slowly, Day 7 North, desert shifting. Archive confirms role, what role? He paused, fingers trembling faintly, eyes locked on the screen as if it might reveal the face behind the whispered secrets. They want me to do something, he murmured, voice lost in the stillness. But what? Lena tilted her head toward him, her eyes shimmering under the faint crescent moon, a tiny flame flickering against the night. What do you think they chose you for? She asked, her voice rough, kissed by dry sand and cold wind. If MH370 is part of them, you're not just a survivor, you're something they need. She reached out, her rough fingers brushing the cracked glass, gazing beyond into the endless desert. This place, it's no longer barren land. Can you hear it? It's singing, a strange song. Ryder nodded faintly, his eyes tracing the dunes where shadows seemed to pulse, like the heartbeat of a giant stirring beneath the red sand. I hear it. It's alive, like something under the ground, breathing with us. He turned to her, a smile flickering like a lone star falling across the desert. You okay? The night's cold, I can keep driving, you rest a bit, don't let the wind wear you down. Lena shook her head, her short hair tangling in the night breeze. I'm not that frail. But you save your strength, I don't want us both collapsing out here. She exhaled, her breath forming a thin white mist in the frigid air. If there's more in that device, play it, I want to know. Ryder nodded, his hands deftly connecting the device to the cable from the rig. The engine hummed, feeding a faint buzz to the small generator tucked beneath the seat. He pressed the button, the screen flaring with a pale green glow, and a new piece of data emerged, not mere sound or a still image, but a living record, a darkened room, blue lights flickering from strange machines, shadowy figures in white robes gathered around a control table, and a deep voice rising, cold but clear, Project Archive, subject Ryder confirmed. Time transfer stable. MH370 was the first step, he will lead us to the next phase. The scene dissolved like sand slipping through fingers, but the final words echoed in his mind, sharp as a bell in the night, he will lead us. I'm the key, Ryder whispered, his hands trembling faintly on the wheel, as if he'd brushed against a truth too vast to hold. They're using me, but for what? He flipped open his notebook, scribbling quickly, archive data, Ryder to lead. Next phase? He looked up at Lena, his eyes blazing in the dark, a fire that refused to die. MH370 wasn't the end, it's the beginning of something. Lena met his gaze, her eyes quiet but swirling with unspoken storms. Lead them where? She asked, her voice quivering faintly, as if she just realized she was walking beside a figure beyond her grasp. If you're the key, who am I traveling with? She took his hand, her warmth seeping through the night's chill, a silent tether binding them. Seraphim, they might not be human, Ryder replied, his voice low like the wind over the dunes. But I have to know who I am to them, and why I'm here. He opened his mouth to say more, but the desert shifted, the sand stopped trembling, and a streak of green light flashed ahead, a sharp slash tearing through the night sky. Look, Lena whispered, sitting up straight, her steel rod rising like a warrior's instinct. Before them, the sand sank gently, unveiling a flat expanse, no longer desert, but a vast metal platform, gleaming silver under the moonlight, stretching wide like a mirror reflecting the shattered sky. Small green lights blinked across its surface, scattered like sleepless eyes watching their every move. Seraphim, she said, her voice thick with awe and unease. This is their land, we've crossed into it. Ryder stopped the rig, his eyes locked on the metal expanse, his heart pounding as if it might break free. Not just land, he murmured, voice trembling. A system, archive is closer than ever. He scribbled quickly, metal land, day 7 north. Seraphim system alive. He turned to Lena, his eyes alight like a flame in the dark. They built this, but why? Lena stepped out, her bare feet touching the cold sand, her steel rod poised, her gaze sweeping the green lights as if they might spring to life. If it's a system, it's not sleeping, it's watching us, she said, her voice taut. Hear that? A hum, not the wind. Ryder listened, and she was right, a low, sharp hum rose from the distance, gentle but piercing, like metal brushing metal in the dark. He leapt down, spear in hand, standing beside her, and then they saw it, a massive shape emerging from the edge of the metal land, not a rig or small bot, but a towering surveillance machine, its round body like a giant spider, supported by 8 thin yet sturdy metal legs, dozens of red lights blazing across it like living eyes sweeping the desert. Atop it, the broken angel wing symbol shimmered in the moonlight, a mark of the land's masters. Seraphim, Ryder whispered, his breath turning to white mist in the cold air. It's guarding, for archive. He gripped his spear tighter, though he knew it was useless against such a machine. Lena yanked him behind the rig, her eyes cold but flickering with a trace of fear. We can't fight it, it's too big, she said, her voice urgent. Use the device, you stopped the others, try again. Ryder nodded, his hands shaking as he pressed the button on the Seraphim device. The screen flared, and the deep voice rang out, clearer than ever, Ryder, come closer. Archive needs you to complete it. The machine froze, its red lights flickering wildly, then slowly turned, its legs carrying it away into the distance, as if summoned by a new command. It listened, he whispered, his heart thumping hard in his chest. They want me there, at any cost. Lena stared at him, her eyes mingling awe with a deep, quiet worry. They're calling you, but to complete what? She asked, her voice soft, as if afraid the desert might overhear. She gripped his hand tighter, her warmth the only anchor in the dark. We keep going? Ryder nodded, his eyes burning like a flame refusing to fade in the night. Yes, I need to know who I am, and what they want. They climbed back into the rig, the engine humming to life, rolling across the metal land under the moonlight, where green eyes never slept, and truth waited in the shadows.